Putin also gave a big speech this morning before the speech by Biden, where he announced that Moscow or Russia would no longer participate in the just remaining parts of the nuclear arms control pact known as the START Treaty.
Unacceptable that the United States is redefining the world order based on their selfish interests. And now, using a representative of NATO, they provide ultimatums. And Russia has to follow what we have signed for, including START treaties. And we're going to do as we please.
That's a big statement right there at the end. How that translated, I know that translators have a little tough time with the
translate verbatim. Yeah.
What they got exactly right at the end was, we're going to do as we please. That's a huge statement to the world for a country like Russia, because, again, saying that means we're not scared of the United States.
In addition to pulling out of this nuclear treaty, which is the last remaining treaty in the world on nuclear weapons that they just are suspending. But in addition to that, Vladimir Putin keeps saying things like, and I have a quote here, that he's ready to use all means necessary to defend Russia's, quote, territorial integrity.
Do you believe that he will use all means necessary? Is that Putin bluster? Or do we have the luxury to even say that?
He wants us to believe it. I think personally he is unstable. He has a lot of troubles at home. He's 70 years old. Some of the oligarchs and businessmen are now complaining about the war. The people have been demonstrating in the streets from time to time. Even the hardline nationalists in Russia are saying they're upset about the casualties and about the expense of the war.
And Putin also said that if the United States tests any nuclear weapons, Russia will test nuclear weapons. I still think right there is where we've talked to Rick Renell about there is diplomacy that could be done here that is not working. He did not say, we're going to test nuclear weapons. He said, if the U.S. does. So he's still acknowledging the U.S. is the power player.
Putin is doing is pressing with great vigor this concept that is embedded in the Russian mind of manifest destiny. Manifest destiny means that it is our destiny to recover the territory that was once the Greater Russia, and that includes Ukraine, which is a breakaway republic that belongs to us, and we are going to do whatever is necessary, ally ourselves with whatever is necessary, just as he said in this quotation that we played. We're going to do as we please in order to effectuate our manifest destiny of realigning this great czarist Peter the Great empire of Russia.
So you had Putin addressing I guess it was, I don't know if it was the legislature directly or supporters, but he made a big speech in a kind of a grand room about doing what they want, no longer abiding by any kind of the nuclear treaties that we've got with the United States, which they were barely abiding by anyways, but anything that was left there, they were done. And then Joe Biden was in Poland, huge event. I mean, he's got more people showed up there than would show up here in the United States for any speech by him. And again, just kind of saber rattling with no end in sight. That's the big problem with the Ukraine issue, is not so much people are against a war of aggression and don't like seeing the imagery, and if they could do something about it that would bring it into it and explain it to us. But instead I see Jake Sullivan and Joe, and they're so giddy over there. Like when they were in Kyiv, like they thought it was so cool that they're in a war zone and they get to go meet with Zelensky, and there's the air raid sirens going off, even though that was bogus because the Russians had agreed not to do anything while Biden was there 3 hours before.
Do not conflict.
So
right.
All that was for show.
Yes.
And that's what you have to realize in this part of the world. There's a lot of propaganda going on.
When you have a weak foreign policy and your adversaries don't assess power, they do this. Now, NATO is saying they're increasingly concerned that China may arm Russia. Does anybody for a moment think that NATO saying we don't want you arming Russia is going to tell the Chinese government that they're not going to do it? But that's where diplomacy really comes in. Rick Renell talked about that yesterday. We do not. You got to be. War is multidimensional. It's diplomacy. It's the art of war, physical combat. It's trade. It's all of it. And I think we're just missing it right now, and we're starting to pay the consequence.